Here's my preview of the Baylor versus TCU football game. First of all, TCU runs an air raid offense, 40.5 points per game, 230 first downs all year, 213.6 rushing yards per game, 272.5 passing yards per game, 59 for 136 on third down, 8 for 18 on fourth down. They have allowed 22 sacks, 62 tackles for loss, 7 turnovers all year long, 2 interceptions, 5 fumbles, 25 pass breakups, 20 quarterback hurries, time possession 31 minutes, 51 seconds. The average 2 or 3 deep at the offensive line weight is 315.9 pounds. So, some obvious players to keep an eye on are like Max Duggan, of course. He's a dual threat quarterback, number 15, 6'2", 210-pound quarterback. That's a senior. 180 completions out of 273 attempts for 2,531 yards with 25 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. And 76 rushing attempts for 282 yards with 4 touchdowns. He does have a reception for 1 yard, so don't be fooled by a trick play. Kendra Miller is the best running back on the team in terms of rushing. The number 33, 6 foot, 220-pound running back that is junior. 174 rushing attempts for 1,417 yards with 13 touchdowns and 10 receptions for 79 yards. Amari DeMercado, number 3, 5'11", 213-pound running back that's a senior. 72 rushing attempts for 407 yards with 4 touchdowns and 7 receptions for 57 yards with 1 touchdown. Amani Bailey, number 9, 5'9", 200-pound running back that's a junior. 18 rushing attempts for 183 yards with 2 touchdowns and 4 receptions for 18 yards. Okay, now I'm going to go to wide receivers. And I know Quentin Johnson played last game, but he wasn't 100% with an ankle. Then he's number 1. 6'4", 215-pound wide receiver. That's a junior. He's going to probably be a first-round draft pick. I'm being completely honest. 45 receptions for 716 yards with 5 touchdowns and 3 rushing attempts for -7 yards. Tay Barber is another good wide receiver. Number 4, 5'10", 190-pound wide receiver. That's a senior. 26 receptions for 459 yards with 3 touchdowns. Darius Davis, he's a dangerous guy in a kick return and punt return game. So you got to make sure you have good punts and good kickoffs to the deep out of the end zone on kickoffs. Number 11, 5'10", 175-pound wide receiver. That's a senior. 32 receptions for 379 yards with 5 touchdowns and 2 rushing attempts for 28 yards. Savion Williams, number 18, 6'5", 215-pound wide receiver. That's a junior. 19 receptions for 283 yards with 3 touchdowns. Gunnar Henderson, number 27, 5'9", 180-pound wide receiver. That's a senior. 7 receptions for 169 yards with 1 touchdown. Jared Wiley, the former Texas tight end, number 19, 6'7", 255-pound tight end, 13 receptions for 146 yards with 4 touchdowns. And I'm going to go over one more guy, and that's Jordan Hudson, number 7, 6'1", 190-pound wide receiver. That's a freshman, 10 receptions for 125 yards with 1 touchdown. Because the other guys, you shouldn't even have to really worry. Now, defensively, they run a 3-3-5, and they're different than that Gary Patterson scheme. They're different. They allow 25.2 points per game. They allow 197 first downs all year long. They allow 134.1 rushing yards per game. 243 passing yards per game. 53 for 150 on third down. 14 for 30 on fourth down. 21 sacks. 53 tackles for loss. 14 turnovers for force. 11 of those interceptions. 3 of those fumbles. 51 pass breakups. 23 quarterback hurries. Time possession on defense, 28 minutes, 46 seconds. The average 3 deep on the defensive line is 291.77778 pounds. With 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sevens in a row before that 8. 3 deep at nose tackle, 318 in a third pounds. Defensive end at 3 deep, 278.5 pounds. Some players to keep an eye on, like Johnny Hodges, number 57, 6'2", 240-pound linebacker that's a junior. 66 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, 1.5 sacks, 1 pass breakup, 1 quarterback hurry. Jamoy Hodge, number 6, 6'2", 245-pound linebacker that's a junior. 57 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks, 1 interception, 1 pass breakup. Mark Perry, number 3, 6 foot, 215-pound safety. That's a junior. 53 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, and 2 pass breakups. D. Winters, number 13, 6 foot 1 inch, 230-pound linebacker. That's a senior. 46 tackles, 9.5 tackles for loss, 6.5 sacks, 1 pass breakup, 6 quarterback hurries, and 1 fumble recovery. Namdi Albanazor, number 4, 6 foot 3 inch, 210-pound safety. That's a junior. 39 tackles, 0.5 tackles for loss, 2 pass breakups. Abe Kamara, number 14, 6 foot, 290-pound safety. That's a junior. 35 tackles, 1 interception, 5 pass breakups, and 1 forced fumble. Travis Hodges Thompson. That's right. He's LT's nephew. He's related to him. Number 1, 5 foot 9 inch, 280-pound cornerback. That's a senior. 32 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 3 interceptions, 8 pass breakups, and 1 forced fumble. Dylan Horton, number 98, 6 foot 4 inch, 275-pound defensive lineman. That's a senior. 31 tackles, 5.5 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, 3 pass breakups, and 6 quarterback hurries. Josh Foster, number 15, 6 foot 200-pound safety. That's a senior. 27 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, and 1 pass breakup. Milo Bradford, number 28, 5 foot 11 inch, 290-pound safety. That's a senior. 27 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, and 4 pass breakups. Josh Newton, number 24, 6 foot 195-pound cornerback. That's a junior. 23 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 2 interceptions, and 10 pass breakups. Shrodrick Banks, number 19, 6 foot 1 inch, 250-pound linebacker. That's a sophomore. 22 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 1 forced fumble, and 1 fumble recovery. Dominic Williams, number 52, 6 foot 2 inch, 320-pound defensive lineman. That's a freshman. 20 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss, 1.5 sacks, and 1 forced fumble. Caleb Fox, number 90, 6 foot 3 inch, 295-pound defensive lineman. So, yeah. That's a junior. 19 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, and 3 quarterback hurries. Tomlin Mitchell, number 91, 6 foot 3 inch, 315-pound defensive lineman. That's a junior. 15 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss, and 1 sack. Terrell Cooper, number 95, 6 foot 2 inch, 280-pound defensive lineman. That's a senior. 13 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 0.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 1 pass breakup, and 1 quarterback hurry. George Ellis, number 93, 6 foot 2 inch, 290-pound defensive lineman. That's a senior. 11 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 1 pass breakup, and 1 quarterback hurry. Lewal Uguak. Apologize if I butchered that last name. Uguak. Number 96, 6 foot 5 inch Wait a minute, I didn't even include his weight on there, which is weird. It's 271 pounds, so I'll fix that. That's one little blunder I had. Oh well. 8 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 0.5 sacks, 0.5 tackles for loss, 1 quarterback hurry, 1 fumble recovery. Okay. Zach Marcellelli, number 34, 6 foot 2 inch, 219-pound linebacker. That's a junior for 7 tackles. Okay, pretty much now special teams. Jordy Sandy, number 31, 6 foot 3 inch, 218-pound punter. That's a senior. 39 punts for 1,538 yards, which 12 of those were inside the 20-yard line, and 33 of those went further than 50 yards. So, Griffin Kell is their normal kicker. Number 39, 6 foot, 195-pound kicker. That's a senior. 43 for 44 on extra points. 11 for 12 on field goals. 7 for 8 on 30 to 39 yards. 4 for 4 on 40 to 49. That's it. Long as 47 yards. So what does Baylor need to do in this game? Special teams wise, last game, just repeat what you just did. That's simple. Because you didn't have any blunders whatsoever. You did a good job punting the ball. I wish that was, of course, landed inside a 20-yard line on the one of those punts by Isaac Power, but that's besides the point. And kickoffs, just eliminate that whatsoever. And of course, on punts, you've got to make sure you don't punt the ball to Darius Davis. Whatever you do at all, make it hard for him to even return for it. And just have good coverage. I mean, because he can run ball out. So that's just to be wary of that. But I will say this about TCU. They're not invincible by any stretch. I mean, first of all, TCU only beat SMU by 8 points. Second, they only beat Texas by 7. And the only reason why I think I got that close is simple. Max Duggan fumbled the ball and returned for 7 points. That's part of the reason. But another part, Texas defense slowed them down enough in that game. If they would have played much better on offense, they would have won that game. I guarantee it. I mean, I'm just telling the truth. They were down 28-10 against Kansas State. Yet they came back to win that game. They beat Kansas 38-31 in the last few minutes of the game. They barely covered against Texas Tech. They barely covered against West Virginia. They have had chances to lose to teams that they shouldn't. I mean, I'm being brutally honest. Yes, I know they did a good job last game defensively against Bijan Robinson. But, look. In the other games that they have played, they have struggled on defense at some points. I mean, that Texas Tech game, first of all, they allowed 195 yards rushing. 195. I mean, it's the truth. You can't deny that. Against West Virginia, they allowed them to hang around, like I said. They barely covered because of they committed offsides and they decided to take a deep shot to the end zone with less than 20 seconds left, and they got a touchdown. They allowed 455 yards rushing, but they allowed 275 yards passing. So, they're not invincible, like I said. I'm going to go over what the defense needs to go first while talking about what TCU's done defensively. In some of these games, Kansas State, that we just lost to, they allowed 232 yards passing and 158 on the ground. And they had to play with backup quarterbacks, mind you, because Adrian Martinez got hurt, and then Will Howard got hurt, but he came back in later, but he was banged up. Oklahoma State, they allowed... I'm actually going to go with what TCU's done recently first. They allowed 245 yards passing in that game and 141 on the ground. But granted, I know Oklahoma State's not a good rushing team. I know. They're not as good. Kansas, they didn't have Jane Daniels for some of that game because of injury. Remember, they let Jason Bean hang around. They allowed 308 yards passing, 144 on the ground. So, it's not impossible. And like I said, they're not been good at times this year. I know that Texas game, they look good. But let's not overreact at all. And the truth is, the only reason why they did so good is because they put 9 guys in the box. And nobody could run against 9 guys in the box all the time. Nobody. So, yeah, they allowed 372 yards passing to SMU, but SMU's a pass-happy offense, but still. You know what I mean. So, defensively, it's simple. You have to prevent the deep shots. And you got to be better against to stopping the run. You have to be a lot better than last game and the game before. That's just being brutally honest. You have to stop the run, and you got to contain Max Duggan. You got to contain him. I mean, it's the truth. Because you don't want him to scramble. I would personally put a quarterback spy on him. I would in this game. And the Texas defense, they did enough to win, nearly. I mean, yes, I know they allow 159 on the ground, but they only allowed 224 yards passing. But Max Duggan had like 10 rushing attempts for negative 41 yards, which 5 of those were sacks. So you need to find a way to get. You had a lot of quarterback hurries last game against Will Howard. You just never got him down because a second later you would have got him. I know you would have. So you need to put pressure to cause him issues and don't let him get comfortable. And get the quarterback down if you can, please. Not just get one sack with all those quarterback hurries. You got to get the quarterback down, period. And you got to stop the running game. It's obvious. Besides preventing the deep shots. And I know Quentin Johnson might not be 100% healthy. You did a good job against the wide receivers last game in terms of yards. Just do that again. But you can't let tight ends and running backs beat you in passing situations. You just can't. I mean, that's the truth. But luckily, Kendre Miller has had not, like what I, based on what the stats say, he is a pass catcher, but he's not like a Deuce Vaughn in terms of pass catching, I believe. Yeah, only 11 receptions. He's not like Deuce Vaughn, so he's not going to be necessarily a guy that's going to throw the ball to the running back, throw to him, or Emari DeMercado. Based on the stats, I mean, I'm just being brutally honest. So, you just got to tackle better in space and tackle better period. And of course, play better coverage at times. Coverage and get more pressure on defense. Now, offensively, it's simple. You have to go back to the RVO, the reliable, violent offense, and dominate the time of possession like you did in the prior 3 games before that last game against Kansas State. I'm just being honest. You need to go back to that. You need to. And I'm pretty sure after a performance like you had on offense, you're going to be fired up and ready to go. And you're going to be a lot better in terms of not allowing so many negative plays or not many big gains. You got to get yourself more third down and manageable situations. You need to. Blake Shapen needs to step up. And part of the problem is the footwork on those throws. You got to have better footwork there. You got to have better protection. And the wide receivers, you got to catch the ball. And the same good thing goes for the tight ends too. I'm not singling out the wide receivers. Just the wide receivers. I'm talking about everybody who catches the ball. Seriously. Because you no-showed on offense last game. You got to go back to where you were. And you got to slow the game down immensely. I would suggest 4 to 6 minute drives every time on offense. I mean, and defensively, you got to force turnovers. You didn't do that last game. You didn't do that. But the prior 2 weeks, you had 8 interceptions before the Kansas State game. Guy gets some forced turnovers. That's simple. Now, offensively, you got to take care of the ball a lot better. You got to. I mean, That's the truth. I mean, and Blake Shapen, don't force anything. And you got to be more accurate. And like I said, for about all those pass catchers, you got to catch the ball a lot better than you did last week. And get separation to get open. And you got to find a way, if you can, to make TCU commit penalties. Though, I will say, you can't rely on the refs necessarily, because I have heard that the refs in those games for TCU have thrown no flags on TCU on pass interference in the second half. So you got to establish the run game and dictate that clock and melt the clock to death. Basically, to nothing. As in, don't allow TCU to have many possessions in the game. You got to slow the pace down. I mean, and like I said, 4 to 6 minute drives, score touchdowns, and get stops on defense. Like either a turnover or a punt, and melt enough for 6 minutes, score another touchdown, you're up 14-0. And of course, you get another stop. But you know what I'm saying, though. You got to get stops on defense, either turnovers or punts. And in this game, I wouldn't mind not get. Of course, if you can't give up any points, 0 points, just hold them to 3 points if possible, because that would be huge. But I prefer 0, of course. And everyone would prefer that, to be fair. So, yeah, it's one of those deals in this game. You have nothing to lose here. It's senior day. You got to play for the seniors. Let's give TCU a chance to be out. Let's give them fits and do what they did to us last year. We were so concentrated going on college football playoff last year. But then you fell to TCU unexpectedly when Garrett Patterson got fired. Let's do that to them and ruin their college football playoff chances. And there's nothing more than we would like to do than beat a rival for the first time since 2019 and eliminate them from the college football playoff entirely. Because, look, we might not make the Big 12 title game, and that's fine. But nothing will satisfy us more than knocking them out of the playoff picture, because, you know, I hate TCU, and Baylor fans hate TCU. I guarantee it. They're our biggest rival, besides Texas, but you know what I'm saying. You got to beat your rival. I mean, you got to have more energy from the start, and you can't hyperventilate, and you got to not concentrate on the outside noise. And just focus on doing the little things right, and get back to the basics, and play a lot, and just forget what happened last game in terms of what happened in the game itself, and don't let that game beat you twice. Because you need to move on and focus on the here and now and prepare for your rival. Because there's nothing worth it's not worth looking back in anger on what has happened. And it's not just in that past game, but what has happened this year. We have had close losses to West Virginia and BYU on the road. And I'm pretty sure without that West Virginia loss, we would be a lot better right now in terms of Big 12 picture. And of course, Oklahoma State took it to us, but remember, at home by 11 points. But remember, whenever we dominate Texas Tech at home, at their place, you know what they did? Played a lot better at home the following time. I mean, I'm not trying to compare us to Texas Tech or anything, but I'm just saying, you got to find a way to bounce back at home after a bad loss. Anyways, if you like this content, hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. It's going to be 400 subscribers or more by the end of this year or sometime in the future.